Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Keeping It Real. I am the host, David King. You guys have probably seen me on Steve Cardenas' show, Students Telling Like It Is, and also Dave Goodman's show, The Truth and Reality of Bridgeport. I am here today with a very special guest, a man who has a very touching story, and personally one that a lot of myself and a lot of others can relate to on a daily basis, especially the young viewers out there who these days are so active with so many different things and getting in trouble. So I'm gonna hand it over to my guest at this time. Steve, I want to say thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
And Steve, you told a little bit about your story on last week on Steve's show, and unfortunately we didn't, you didn't get to finish. We had a lot of phone calls, but tell the viewers a little bit about yourself and I guess what you do and your whole story.
Okay. My name is Steve, of course, and I'm in recovery for 14 years. A former heroin addict. Actually, whatever came my way, I used. And today I live a joyous and free life, drug-free, and my life really took off. It was like I was just born the day of recovery because I never really had a life before that, and I have to give all the credit to my higher power for bringing me here. And anyway, my life was just a path of devastation and loss and waste, and like I said, until recovery, and that's when I began to build a life. I was born into a alcoholic and drug environment. My mother was an addict. My father was a drunk. My stepfather was an alcoholic, and that's the way it was in our house. And I don't know. A lot of people are of the belief that sometimes that we're not victims, but I don't know. I feel like I was victimized by this disease because I don't think I really stood a chance of not becoming an addict. I was in the environment, and because of the environment I was in, I never felt like my mother loved me. I never felt wanted because she was busy partying all night and sleeping all day. And my brother, I had an older brother who I lost in 2005 to cancer, but he was clean as well when he died. But my brother and I kind of brought each other up. My mother wasn't there, and I can clearly remember when I was 4 years old, standing on a chair over a gas stove, boiling water to cook Kraft's macaroni and cheese. At 4 years old, and I have a granddaughter who's 7 now, and the realization of how dangerous that was. When she was 4, I looked at her and it just flashed before me like unbelievable. A kid that age and that young would be doing something that dangerous, and that was just the way of life for us because we had to feed ourselves. We had to sew buttons on our clothes. We had to iron our clothes.
Wow. And what about school? I mean, did you guys attend school?
Well, my brother was better at attending school than I. I went to school when I wanted to because, I didn't have any supervision. I didn't really have anybody tell me what not to do or what to do, and I was a chronic truant, and all my friends would be in school and I'd be walking the streets of Bridgeport, just doing nothing. But that was the way it was,
So what age was you when you started, I guess your alcohol or drug addiction?
Around 12. I was around 12. And that was true for my brother as well. He started about 12 years old.
Wow. because there's a lot of young kids out here today, and what you just said. Yeah, going back to what you said about your mother never loved you and I guess wasn't there. A lot of kids today, they face that problem. I know personally for me, I was one of those kids who mother wasn't there. She was always hitting the club and partying every night, and she blamed me also for my disability that I have. So I got involved with drinking and smoking and et cetera. So I mean, it's really tough, and especially when you don't have your parents involved, not to get involved with drugs and everything. Did it? Speaking of, did it affect your school life? Did you, graduate? Did you?
They pushed me. They pushed me through. They just wanted to get rid of me, in grammar school, and they pushed me into high school. And my freshman year is when I lost my mother to this disease, and I was 15 at the time, and then I was on my own. I had to fend for myself for real. Then, I had to find housing and a job and this and that, and that's just the way it was. I had to do what I had to do, and I'll tell you, because it was like that from almost the very beginning. I became very self-reliant, I kind of got the attitude there was nothing I could do, and that, I don't know if that helped me. It might help me today, I don't know, but it certainly helped me through my 30-something years of addiction, because I had to do what I had to do to maintain a habit, and there was no challenge that I wouldn't face to get my next bag of heroin.
Exactly. That is so, that's so overwhelming. And the fact that, you live to see it, but there's a lot of young people out there. There's a lot of people out there that don't live from doing drugs and being able to recover. Unfortunately, some people fall through the cracks and never become clean, mostly because they have problems at home or problems, and, they get bullied in school. Lately you hear a lot about, I can't afford to pay my rent or I'm getting bullied in school, so people turn to drugs. But what the viewers have to understand is that when you turn to drugs, it's just going to get worse and worse. There is not going to be a positive outcome for everybody. I'm sitting here lucky to be one of those people who met Mr. Steve Cargenis and Dave Gordon, who helped me get on a positive path. And and Steve also here, I think you would agree that you were very lucky to be able to be here today and tell your story. It must have been rough, trying to eat, with your mom not there, and your mom not loving you. That's very hard at a young age, not to have your parents love you. But we face that. There's a lot of parents out here that don't care about their kids, that they let their kids do whatever they want, and you're having early teen pregnancy. Kids are getting diseases, and kids are dying or falling in prison. And I think you said the other day on Steve's show, I think you said something about it has to start with love at home, and a lot of families are broken homes, and some of that is because the economy, and another is because of layoffs, and it just, everything is kind of a mess right now. But yes, it has to start at home. And I know, being an African American and a lot of Latinos, that's big with us. We come from a lot of broken homes. We come from these bad neighborhoods and broken homes where we feel there's no point. We might as well sell drugs because we're not going to be anything in life. I certainly felt that way. I felt that way until I think I was about in the 11th grade, and then I kind of smartened up a little bit. But even still, even up to date now, there's times where I feel that this is as far as I'm going to go, or, I'm not going to do any better than what I am today. So, you have to keep a positive mindset. What could you tell young viewers out there who are maybe trying drugs or doing drugs or thinking that that's the only life for me? What advice can you give them?
Well, I happen to know that drugs don't work. They didn't work for me. They didn't work for anybody that I know. I've seen a lot of people pass from this world because of drugs. I've seen families broken up. I've seen brother against brother, sisters against sisters. I've been to prison. I've been homeless. I've slept in cars in the dead of winter. I've been so cold that I would shiver so hard that I thought I might lose my mind. That's where drugs brought me. And I thought in the beginning when I was young that these things wouldn't happen to me because I was me, and it wasn't never going to happen to me. And it happened to me, and it happened to, like I said, everybody who followed the path I followed, you know, and that's just the way it is, you know. And I think I said this the other night on the program as well, you know. I became addicted, but I was addicted before I knew it. You know, I crossed that line without even knowing it, and then I was encompassed with addiction, and there was no way out for me, or so I thought at the time. And like I said, 30 years of using heroin was, I can tell you stories, but there's not enough time on this program, but they are all ugly stories and painful, and a lot of hurt and just a lot of loss and devastation, you know. And I want to say something because you said earlier that I must feel lucky to be here today. You know, well, I'll tell you, I don't believe in luck. I feel fortunate to be here today. You know, I probably shouldn't be here today by only the grace of God I am, because I've overdosed 3 times. I've been dead. I've been shot at. I've been stabbed. I've been run over a couple times, and you name it. My head's been beat with everything from a baseball bat, pool cue, 2x4, whatever, all in the pursuit of drugs, and that was the lifestyle I lived, you know. And if you think that it won't happen to you, what happened to me, you're just deceiving yourself, because it's just the way it is.
You know, I want to touch on something that you just said. You said you've been in prison. There is, you know, especially in the projects, a lot of young kids are like, it's cool. It's a how you say, a level of accomplishment to make it to prison. Can you tell the viewers a little bit about how is it in prison, and if they go to prison, what to expect? Because they feel that because they see this on TV shows and it's cool, and you know, it's like going to high school. Prison is way different. You mind explaining that to the viewers?
Well, I can tell you, I think that those who portray being in prison as cool or going to prison as cool, that's just a front, you know. Nobody wants to be in prison. Nobody wants to be away from their girlfriends, their families. Nobody wants to do that, you know. And the people who just are cool with it are either institutionalized because they've been there so long, or they're just fronting because it's a terrible place to be. There's no solitude. You're never alone. There's never any quiet. There's always this din, this like huge noise, 24/7. Well, maybe in the middle of the night it calms down a little bit because some people sleep at night, but it's an ugly scene. You know, you're told when to go to chow. You're told when to do this, when to do that. You have to you know, you have to wait for visits, and you know, and all that. You have no freedom, and I don't know. It's just not a nice place to be, you know. And unfortunately, in active addiction, you at some point in your life you're going to have to turn to larceny or or something to support your habit, and that's, like I said, just the way it is. And nobody gets away clean. Nobody gets away clean. You're going to get busted, and you're going to get busted again and again and again if you continue to use, and you will end up in prison. And you know what? It don't make you a man to be in prison,
or a woman to be in prison,
or a woman. You know, it's an ugly place to be, and it's definitely connected to drug use. You know, especially in my case. And I believe that probably 95% of everybody in prison is there due to sales, using, or doing something really crazy or violent under the influence of drugs. And the other 5% are just sociopaths, you know?
Exactly.
You know, but the drugs are really the main cause for all these prisons we have, and it's just amazing the prison population in this country. It's incredible.
So, you know, after all that, what made you like say, I'm done with this, and here's my thing, I'm gonna get clean? What made you say, okay, I'm gonna get clean?
Again, it was an act of God. It had nothing to do with me. It had nothing to do with, because I wasn't looking to get clean. I chased heroin for 30 years, and that particular morning, I was still chasing it, still looking to get it. And fortunately, he put me in a place. I had my back against the wall, and he came to me, and he infused me with hope. And I never had hope. In all those 30 years, I never had hope. I never had aspirations. I never had anything like that. And you know, I had hit a bottom maybe 1,000 times, but I bounced. You know, this time he infused me with hope, and for some reason I believed that I didn't have to live like this anymore. You know, and it turned something. It turned on a switch, or it changed me completely in a matter of a second or two. I wasn't the guy I was a second ago. I seemed to know something that I didn't know a second ago. Do you know what I mean? It transformed me from being that junkie waste product into somebody who had some hope and had aspirations of having a life. And it's been like that ever since, you know.
And now that you're clean, how's your life been up to date?
My life is incredible. My life is almost unbelievable, and you know, I can tell you just by the fact that I'm not using drugs, I don't have to wake up every morning and the first thought in my mind is, now what? Now what am I going to do? Because I'd wake up every morning with that same question: where am I going to get money? How am I going to get money? Am I going to get robbed today, or am I going to get arrested? You know, I don't wake up with those questions anymore. I wake up. I've been fortunate enough to start a small business, and it's sustained me for 8 years pretty well. And I wake up, I go to work, you know, and I can tell you, when I was using, I had no friends. I had no friends when I was using. I belonged to Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous, and I can tell you, I have hundreds of friends today, people who believe in me, and people who I believe in, and people who actually love me and are interested in me and interested in my welfare.
Well, I certainly do believe in you, and I've certainly been interested in your story since I heard your story last week. But going back on subject here, was it hard? Like when you came out of prison, was it hard for you to get employment? Was it hard to kind of, to try to fit back into society? Because a lot of people don't understand when you go to prison, and I'm aiming mostly at the young people out there who run around young and stupid, and this is what we do, okay? Don't realize, like he said, how hard it's going to be in prison, but when you come out of prison, how hard is it to re-put your life back together?
like I keep saying, you know, I've been so blessed. I've never struggled with the issue of wanting to use again. I've never struggled. I mean, of course, I have my good days and my bad days, and life happens to me too. You know, I had to have major surgery in January. I was nearly dead, but I've come back. But God's carried me through all of this. And when I got out of prison, my daughter took me and she sponsored me for parole, and just see, when you're doing the right things seem to happen. She knew somebody who had a body shop. I was in auto body work, you know, before that, and she got me right into a job, and from that job I went to a better job, and then one day I decided that I would start my own business, and I did. And I'll tell you what, that was blind faith, or you know, I started that business with nothing. I had $5,000. I didn't even have a truck for the first year, but God sustained me, you know, and the business grew, you know. It was a challenge in the beginning, but you know what? I put some effort into it, like I put effort into my addiction, and I put a whole lot more effort into my addiction than I ever did in anything since I've been clean, let me tell you, you know. But the results I get today are more, are positive, you know, and they're life sustaining, you know.
Exactly. I mean, like you said, if you put effort into anything you do, you can be very successful. And, you know, and that's what a lot of viewers, the parents, young kids have to understand, that the parents have to put effort into being there for your kids. I understand we work. I understand it's hard and times are rough, but your kids are always your number one priority, because nobody should have to bury their kids, you know, at the age of 13 or 12 or 20. You know, it should be us kids burying our parents, not the other way around. And as for the kids, you know, we have to, you know, think more positive. There's nothing out here on the streets. There's nothing positive going to come from being out on the streets. And to be honest, that's exactly what, you know, the system most of the time thinks, that all these young kids, all they're good for is being on the street and never going to achieve nothing. You know, we need, you know, we're babies having babies, and we have no education. You know, so I mean, yes, we have to put more effort into doing positive than doing negative. And you know, like I said, for me, my inspiration, like I used to be rolling around and hanging out with my homies. My inspiration didn't come for a couple of years, but then my inspiration came from two kids in particular. It came from a kid named Onyx, who is in a wheelchair like myself, and it came from recently a little sixth grader named Darlene, who is a good friend of mine, and she is so inspiring, and she has straight A's, and she's on the track team, and she's so proud of me and what I do. Always makes me think when I feel like, okay, screw this, you know, my job didn't pay me enough, I need to go out and hustle or whatever. Thinking about stuff like that, thinking about the positive things, keeps me going and keeps me on the straight path, you know. So I think that's very important to, you know, always put effort into it. But you know, we need to put more effort into doing positive things. You know, it's very great that you have a business. And so, are you married? You know.
I'm divorced. I'm divorced. But you know, I do have a full life, like I said. Lots of friends, lots of things to do. There's not enough time in the day, any day, to do what I have to do. You know, what I would like to do. You know, my time is so full, and that's a blessing. You know, it's really a blessing. You know, I work hard and I sleep hard, and I, you know, I am just totally free. You know, and I feel it. I feel that freedom. You know. I don't forget the past, that's for sure, you know. And like I said, I could never have imagined 15 years ago having the life I have, or certainly never sitting next to you here and being interviewed on a TV program, you know. Because, I mean, I might have been on Cops or something, you know, but you know, nothing in this venue, you know what I mean? And I don't know. I can't say enough about recovery, and I can't say enough about addiction either, because addiction is a very powerful, devastating, damaging thing, you know. And I just want to say to you, young people, you have to believe in yourself. You have to. Listen, we're all born with a clean slate, you know. You have to believe in you. Outside influences, forget them, man. You are you. You are in you. Nobody can get in there unless you let them in there. Believe in yourself. Strive to do something good for yourself, and you will never be sorry, you know. But I can tell you, if you pick up drugs and you go that way, all you're going to do is regret every moment of your life until you change or you die. And that's basically what it's about. Change or die.
Exactly. I mean, you know, we're coming towards the end of our show here. You know, I personally, you know, like you said, you know, you have to change. You know, for me, it's very hard to change, you know, from where I grew up and where I live. But for me, I always felt I had to change, because I'd rather be a leader than a follower. Mm-hmm. And I just watched so many young kids, you know, become followers and not leaders, when they are the future of the world, not just here in Bridgeport, but the world in general. I mean, I'm present, you know, you guys are all moving towards the past, and I'm present, and the future is the young ones coming up, and we have to inspire the young ones to believe in themselves. You know, we gotta stop, as the older ones, we gotta stop putting the younger ones down. And as parents, we gotta stop saying, you know, hey, it's not my problem, who cares? You know, because at the end of the day, the only one hurting is our future. The world itself, the future is in danger if we continue to just, we're burying, I mean, let's really think about this, blow my mind. We're burying your parents are burying their kids. They're bringing them into this world, and you're putting them in a box, you know, before their time. Anyways, folks, we're out of time. I'm David King. I'm here with Steve. It was a pleasure having you on the show.
Pleasure being here.
You've been watching Keeping It Real. Stay tuned in the following weeks for more stories as we continue to talk about problems and issues right here in our own town of Bridgeport. Peace out.